What's going on, guys? This is Martyrs Brigade 99 coming to you once again with another session of Dark Souls commentaries. Alright, so we just defeated the Iron Golem, and we're in Anor Londo. Alright, I know you guys are pretty much familiar with Anor Londo. Basically, our objective is to go ahead and defeat Ornstein and Smough. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and rest at the bonfire in the event that we die somewhere between here and there. And as you can see posted up on the wall, there's a Blade of the Dark Moon, a member of the Covenant. But we'll leave her alone at this point. She doesn't really offer anything. She's a firekeeper. So in the event that we have a firekeeper soul that we'd like to upgrade, we can go ahead and use her. But we don't have one at this point. So do we really need to talk to her at this point? No. Alright, so we're going to kind of test out some armor. Don't really like how that looks. Now, basically what I'm doing is I'm trying to test the weight of my equipment. I'm trying to determine whether I should stay at 36 endurance or whether I should go up a little bit. And I think based upon, the speed at which I'm able to jump, with these varying pieces of equipment, I probably need to go up a little bit. Probably up to 39, but we'll see. Alright. Let's go ahead and make a decision as to what we're going to wear. And I'm just kind of experimenting a little bit. And basically what I'm doing is I'm trying to find out what alternative armors I'm going to wear. We've already said in previous vids that the Dingy set will be the primary set. So we're kind of looking for some secondary armor sets. And I'm thinking it might be some parts of the Armor of Thorns, but we'll see. We'll make a final decision later on. Alright, so we just used the high speed, I guess you can call it, elevator. We're down to the lower levels. And actually there are 3 levels. As you guys already know, there's the upper level where we started. There's this level, where actually once you go across, it's the level where Ornstein and Smough is. And then there's the lower level. Well, the bottom level, I'll just say that, because lower can also imply that there's... Okay, anyway. And then there's the bottom level. And that is where the Blade of the Dark Moon Covenant is, and where we'll also have access to the Painted World. Alright, so we're just awarded the Gargoyle Helm, which we will not need. And later on, we will eventually dump. Now, as you guys can see, I have the Fall Gate going on, so someone's trying to invade. And because I see that, I am going to try to get my equipment ready. And basically, we'll just kind of stand by unless it takes too long. Right? Because in the brigade, we never run from a fight. Alright. Now, another good thing with regard to Dark Souls, especially when you're a PvP player like me, is good to know where a lot of those invasion locations are. Right? So in other words, when you do a lot of invasions, there's several spots per level that you're allowed to invade. And what I mean is, the reason why I was standing there is because usually when you invade the beginning part of this stage, you usually invade somewhere around the stairs where I was. Right? So I was just standing there because there have been times where I just proceeded on and the guy just kind of shot me off with that dragon bow, which kind of, infuriated me. But I learned my lesson since then. If I'm kind of in one of those weird areas, that could make me vulnerable to being, blown off a bridge or um, something like this, I'll just basically wait, right? And either once I defeat the Darkwraith, or if I lose, unfortunately, then I'll go back to my business. But I do not like dying because I've been, forced off of a bridge, or, you know, somebody hit me with the wrath of gods and I just fall off one of these elevated points. No, that kind of gives me rage. Alright. So we made it across. Down the ladder and through the fall gate. Alright, and now we are going to go ahead and move that rotator arm, and it will bring us to the lower level, or the second level. Alright, so let's go ahead and defeat this gargoyle. And even though we chopped his tail off, the tail was never a priority, because we have already established what equipment we're going to use. Alright, so we're just going to go all the way down to that last level. Well, actually not last. I'll say bottom. That sounds a little more accurate. Alright, so we're at the bottom level. Now, this is where you can have access to the Dark Moon Covenant. What you would do is you would use the sense ring, the one that we acquired in the catacombs, and as soon as you put it on that statue in front of you, it would disappear, and then there will be a carpet, and then you kind of kneel to the carpet once you hear the voice talking to you. But we're not going to do that right now, and actually I don't even think I'm going to use the Dark Moon Covenant. More than likely I'm going to just play the role as I usually do, as a Darkwraith. Although I am considering grave lording a little bit. We'll see how that goes, though. Alright, so let's go ahead and make it up the spiral steps. Now that right there, that doorway or entryway, is where we would have access to the painted world. But we're not going to go there at this point. We might go a little later. Maybe to go get a dried finger. I can't remember if I have one already. Alright, so let's go ahead and ascend the steps. So, is there really a need to fight these guys? No. Some people who play the game, it's kind of like every single enemy they have to fight. No. Especially when you've played this game as many times as I have. There's really no need to sit there and fight every single enemy, right? Because our goal is Ornstein and Smough. We're not really trying to collect all these, random 1,000 or 2,000 souls. Our goal is Ornstein and Smough. And also, our goal is to bring us to an area to where, if we do want to collect souls a little bit, we can farm. And I hate these. I hate that. I absolutely hate that. And actually, I failed to roll in time. Now, there's two ways that you can get past those archers. One way is you can roll through the dragon slayer arrow, or you can use the fog ring, or hidden body sorcery, which also helps. Now, 90% of the time, I just roll through them. All right, I just jump through them, and once you get close to him, he'll give you a sword attack. But, you know, since we're kind of going to go the mage faith path, I'm just going to go ahead and utilize one of my sorceries. All right, rotate the rotator arm. Alright, just going to go ahead and ascend the steps. Alright, and we out of here. Alright, so we're going to try this again. But this time we're going to go ahead and use the sorcery, as we just discussed. We're going to ensure to get our souls. Because, you know, it's to humanity, but we can use every piece that we can get. Alright, we're just going to hit him off with a nice parry and riposte and go about our business. Alright, let's go ahead and fire up the bonfire. Have a seat. And let's try an invasion. Now, usually when I'm around these levels, like around, 50 to about 70, I actually do a lot of invasions or stand by to be invaded in this area. Now, of course, it's kind of lower level, but who cares? I like PvP at any level, right? Now, I'm not into the level 20 PvP type deal. Usually I start as I said before, I don't know if any of you guys heard it, but I usually start my PvP at around level 45, 50. I'll say around 50. Because even when I'm starting from scratch at around 50, this is where I would be. Right, and once I'm at this point, I'm able to develop a weapon to the lightning path. And with the lightning path being pretty strong, I think it'll give me a pretty good weapon when I'm engaging in PvP. So this is usually around this time that I'm starting PvP in the game, especially when I'm starting from scratch. Alright, just kind of tighten up these white knights, or silver knights, whatever you call them. Now, for a lot of you guys that are very technical on the game, because there's times I may get an enemy name wrong, or I may not say a boss. Well, I'm kind of just freestyling this thing, right? I don't have a screen in front of me. I don't have it all memorized. I'm not really into the lore, the story, all that. I just like PvP. So if I can't remember it, or if I say it wrong, just kind of bear with me. Alright, just go ahead and go up the short flight of spiral steps. Alright, give him a nice gut shot. Standard data. Alright, now we're going to go ahead and try to rescue the NPC. Now, once we set him free from these knights, he will give us a, I'll say a ridiculous ring, right? Because I don't know if anyone ever uses it. I never really used it. I think I used it in the beginning when I first started playing the game. You know, before I kind of figured out what rings I should use and which ones that I shouldn't. But after that point, I've never used it, right? So in this chest, we're going to get a couple demon titanites. And we're going to speak to the NPC, which is a requirement if you want to go ahead and receive that titanite slab at the end of the interactions. Alright, go ahead, descend down the spiral stairs. And we're going to go ahead and open access to the upper levels without having to go the long way around like we just did. And we have an invader, right? But let's go ahead and open this door, because there have been times where I've been invaded. You know, I got kind of cocky thinking I'm just going to whoop the guy, and I end up dying before I'm able to open the door. So this is one thing you always want to do in the event that you are invaded, but you actually have access to the door. Just go ahead and open the door, right? Because I know when I'm invading here, and I notice that that door is closed or that those knights are there, I usually do not open the door, right? Because to the extent that I'm able to kill the host, because I unlock the door, they will then have access to the shortcut, and I don't want to give them access, right? Because I'm a Darkwraith. I'm not there to help you. I'm there to spread misery and doom. That's my job. So that's why it's pretty funny, you know, when these guys will watch my role as a Darkwraith, and they'll tell me how, you know, impolite I am, or, you know, how unfair I am. I had a particular guy tell me, "Oh, dude, I mean, using a Estus flare, that is just so unfair." So what, dude? Use a Lloyd's talisman, right? Use a Lloyd's talisman. You guys will notice in all of my videos, current and past, the brigade doesn't complain about anything, right? I don't care about Estus flasks. I don't care about hornet rings. Well, actually, let me take that back. I do complain about something. I don't like gankers. But other than that, you know, spamming the R1, Tranquil Walk of Peace, it's a part of the game. And this is one thing that pretty much annoys me when I read a lot of the comments. Now, it is not that I do not like criticisms of my own gameplay. That is not the case. I don't really care about that, because no one is going to like everything that you do. Who cares? What I don't like is that, about the comments, is that they just seem so crybaby-ish, right? These guys are complaining about Tranquil Walk of Peace. So what, dude? Stop crying. Find a way to figure it out, right? They'll cry about backstab fissures. Okay, dude, just try to find a way to overcome it. I mean, they make so many crybaby statements. That's the thing that's irritating, right? I never really care about people who criticize my gameplay. Gameplay is gameplay. But when they cry about Wrath of the Gods or Tranquil Walk of Peace and say that this is fair and that's not fair, who cares? Alright, so I made several attempts to invade, unsuccessful attempts. So, I mean, to kind of fast forward through all that, I'm just going to go ahead and start summoning so we can try to defeat Smough and Ornstein. Alright. So we have a intelligence build here. Let's see, can we get at least one? Because we actually don't need to. But, you know, if we're able to have two helpers, two is good. But do we need to? No. You know, do I need to switch off to a heavy weapon? No. As I stated before, not only do I use rapiers in PvP, but I'll also use them in PvE. That is like always my weapon of choice. Now I might switch it up, you know, use a bastard sword here and there, some of these other weapons. But for the most part, I am a rapier user. Right now, to a degree, that is my downfall when it comes to PvP, especially when I meet up against people who are familiar with my videos. And here's why. And actually, the ones who are familiar with my videos, either they play in two different ways. Either they suck, right, because they're kind of like, okay, I know who this guy is and I'm kind of scared to swing because he's going to parry me, right? Or it's the type that because they've watched my videos, they basically know how I play, right? Now, what do I mean by they know how I play? I use rapiers 90 to 95% of the time. Rapiers users should specialize in critical attacks, which means specializing in backstabs and parries and ripostes. That's where I get my maximum effectiveness of the rapier, right? So I would not apologize for it. Now, if I have a great sword, should I just be going around trying to backstab every second? No. I have a great sword. My tactics will be different. And actually, probably in some of my future videos, and I don't mean in this series, but some of my future videos, period, I'll just feature different weapons so you guys will see the difference in gameplay styles based upon the weapon. So this is why I don't particularly get offended when I hear guys say, oh, you're a backstab fisher, or you parry too much. Parries are overpowered. I don't care about that, right? Because I play according to the weapon that I'm using. And that's how most people should play, right? If I'm faced against a dagger user, and all he does is basically parry and backstab, am I going to whine and cry about that? No, not really, right? Because one thing that I know about daggers is that they inflict relatively super low damage. Daggers were not meant to inflict a lot of physical damage. They get their bonus from critical attacks, just like rapier users. All right, so if I get, you know, some guy running around with a bandit's knife, am I going to cry because he backstabbed me and say how the game is broken and is unfair and backstabbers just, you know, destroy the game? No, because I see what kind of weapon that he's using. Now, if you're armed with a claymore and all you're doing is backstab fishing, that's something totally different, right? Because the maximum effectiveness of a claymore comes from physical attacks, not critical attacks. That's why it just has the 100 critical damage and not 110 or 120 or 147 like some of these other weapons. Now, is that to say that just because you use a claymore you cannot do backstabs? No, that's ridiculous. Anyone can do a backstab. But what I'm saying is, when you are using a weapon that has emphasis on critical attacks, it doesn't make sense to cry when they attempt to do critical attacks. Right? Well, actually, I'm not going to say it doesn't make sense. I'll just say I don't cry about it, because that's what the weapon was designed for. Right? If you have a spear user and they keep you off at a distance and they're basically spamming their R1, now I might not like it, especially if they kill me, but will I complain? No. That's what a spear user is supposed to do, keep you at a distance. You know, I'm not going to say how much the game is broken and all this other stuff that you hear so many people cry and complain about. I'm just going to try my best to fight against it. Alright, so that fight is over. Ornstein and Smough is dead. So we're going to go ahead and light the bonfire, and we're going to proceed through the big doors that are right in front of us. And this is where we receive the, what do you call that thing? What is that thing that allows you to, transport from one place? Well, actually, I don't need to ask because I'm going to find out real soon. Okay, yada, yada, yada.
Daughter of Lord Gwyn and Queen of Sunlight, since the day Father was formed of obscurity, I have awaited thee.
The Lordvessel. There we go. Alright guys, stay tuned for the next vid of the series. Martyr's Brigade is